Hello and welcome back to module number 6, and the subject of module number 6 is deviation analysis. I will start with our textbook and then I will go back to the idea of deviation analysis in statistics, and in the end I will also show you what taboo can allow us to do with regard to deviation analysis. So let's begin. So the idea of our textbooks is that deviation analysis is the measurement of difference between any one number in a set and the mean of the set. Okay, big words. Between any one number and the set of the mean of the other numbers, which means that what he means is that he breaks down, and in this example expenses, he breaks down to the sales, the marketing, the operation, the engineer, and finance, that every company, basically the majority of the companies, has subdivisions of those with those titles: the sales department, the marketing department, the operation department, the engineering department, and finance department. So he says about the difference between a budget, that is usually something that you plan ahead, and the actual figures that actually happens. So there is two sets that he thinks that there needs to be differences between them. But we need to start with our discussion what is variance and what is standard deviation in statistics to understand why he makes this comparison, or why he used deviation analysis in his discussion in graphics. So the variance is a measurement how points differ from the mean, which means if set 1 consists of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, and 10, and then the second set consists of 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, what is the mean and what is the median of the above set? So we have the ability to calculate the mean of the two sets and make a comparison. And in this case, the mean and the median are equal. So if we, but we know, which is interesting by itself, is that the two sets are not identical, because the set number 1 holds the values of 3, 5, 7, 10, and 10, compared to the second set, which is 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. So the variants show how they are different. So we want a way to find how to present the two data numerically. So how do we do that? How do we calculate? So we use the idea of the mean to calculate where is the average, or what is the mean of those different differences. So we have x minus the x hat divided by the total, which means that in this set we can have the calculation of the variance and we can have the sample variance, and usually when we do that we use different proportion or different elements, in this case square root on both sides, and for the population is usually q square, for the sample is s square, which is the variable that we are looking for. So those are the things that we need to be concerned when we apply the statistical analysis. So in this case the mean is equal to 7, and if I'll do some simple calculation with regard to how to find the mean, it is x minus x hat. So 3 minus 7 equal minus 4, 5 minus 7 equal minus 2, 7 minus 7 is equal 0, etc. However, as we remember from the previous slide, we also need to take care of the square root, which means the x minus the x hat square root. So in this case, it will be equal, the first will be equal, when the x is score 3, it will be equal to 16, 4, 0, etc. So the sum of it will be different from the score of the x. So in this case, this is how we calculate that. Example number 2. Find the mean, medium, mode, and range when we have those ideas of how to do that. So the mean, I'm sorry, my PowerPoint presentation jumped a little bit, so I will fix it. It will be Mark versus Maria, and so you will see it correctly. It just jumped because I broadcast it. So again, my apologies. When you will download the PowerPoint, it will be lined up together. So the mean, medium, and range, again, you will see that the mean is equal the same thing into the two sets, but the medium is different and the range is also different. So what can we see? It is due to the outliers values where the mean is more typical on overall performance. Again, if we will apply the analysis, the more advanced analysis, we will see that again the Mark's variance versus Marina variance is again different. Mark is 12.8 comparison to 72.4. So Mark has a lower variance, therefore its value or the value of his scores is more concise. Another thing that we need to be aware is the measurement of variance score of the mean, which means that we are looking at the standard deviation. So when you think about standard deviation as the average distance to the mean, although it is not numerically accurate, it is a conceptual help. What does it mean, conceptual help? We are trying to understand where it stands with regard to the mean. So, all ways of saying that the higher standard deviation indicates higher spread of the variable, in this case the x, less concise and less clustering. That's really important, and I want you to keep that in mind. In the case of sample and population, we always apply that into the formula in order to do that. Additional formula is the variance, and the variance is the following formula. It is the formula that consists, again, the x minus the x hat square root multiplied by f divided by the f, and again the standard the frequency distribution. So in this case the mean is 23. What we come up with, again, this is what we come up with regard to those standard. So the round-off rule in this case carry one or more place where it was presented in the original way. The classical way to represent deviation analysis is bell curve. I hope that you have memories about bell curve in high school, where we talked about empirical rule of data, which is implied that 68 of all scores fall with one standard deviation of the mean, 95% stand with 2 standard deviation of the mean, and 99.7 stands with 3 standard deviation of the mean. Those are the global rule with regard to how we capture the bell shape. But I'm going back to our book and about visual analytics. And he started with a different way of presenting the information, and here's the same way this information can be displayed differently. And again, the analysis can change how we set up the values. In order to illustrate this idea, he refers to the actual versus budget, and he makes a comparison that this is a good case to show the actual sales versus the regional sales, and he in the left side, he used the same and colored the difference. In the right side, he lay out the bars in order for us to show that. What do you think? What works best? Some people, if you look at the research, you'll find that some people will say that the left is more accurate, and while other people will say the opposite. So again, this is a way for us to start playing paying attention to the details that our visualization consists of. We're going to learn about R, and I want to show you that the ability of R to customize or to apply different color or different set, that's what makes the R so powerful. So again, how do we display deviation analysis? So the idea here is compared to the current target, actual sell-through today is compared to what we are aiming for today, future target, current forecast, same point in time in the past, and standard. This is his outline according to him in order for us to apply deviation analysis and apply that in a sense that will make more sense using the current target, future target, or current forecast, or same point in time in the past, and a standard. So what is about the deviation analysis display? So deviation analysis does not require fancy visualization, and this is a good start because the two best graphic for display deviation are bar graph and line graph, and this is a standard. And every time you will hear deviation analysis, why don't you do deviation analysis display? Remember that the best way for us is graph and line. In both cases, the graph that features in the deviation should display the reference line that set up the value to which the other value will be compared. For example, budget versus the real expenses. When you use deviation analysis, the deviation are expressed as positive or negative. So the best way to display deviation analysis is with percent. So you will need to do some calculation with regard to percentage. 50% above, 50% below, and how it play out. Again, a little bit work, but in the end, it will be worth to present that in order for us to get consensus out of the people who review our PowerPoint presentation. So I want to display to you, I will share this file with you, and in this case, I made a comparison between count of age and age. And so in this case, this is a really good, and I use it Taboo to illustrate it. I drag the age to the columns and the row in order for us to display it. One of the things that, again, as I said, Tableau is not my favorite tool because it always remind me of Excel. Why is that? Because when I try to highlight one element, it allowed us to do that, but it does not allow me to color that differently in compared to the others. He allowed me to choose different color to the one that I selected, but it always do the rest for us. So again, this is something that I like to have a control. I like to set the tone in order for me to do that. And again, colors is really important to visualization. And again, from my point of view, and please argue with me if you think that this is not correct, but Taboo is a little bit weak on the side of separate or to display things that are important. And again, we will learn about R. We will learn how R allowed us to do that. And again, this is R, and it's best when we are comparing, example, practical and budget, and this is something that it's really hard to do in Excel and in Taboo. So your assignment is going to do bell shape. The data that will consist of will allow you to do bell shape, talk about it, discuss about the elements, what you have achieved, and try to incorporate the discussion we had in this module about his remarks about what the visualization needs to entail in order for us to make the deviation analysis display more accessible and more readable to the majority of the reader. So this is it for module number 6. I hope you enjoy it. Do not forget, this module will consist a quiz number 2. Quiz number 2 is really easy. I don't want you to panic. Just make sure that you read the literature, make sure that you read the article that I posted, and just think about what we have covered so far and how it matched together to the main idea of the class. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email or come visit me visit me in my office or via Skype. Until next time, have fun and enjoy.